Now, moving away from the select tag, we're going to go back to an input type. And this input type is radio type. And a radio button will give us a choice. So we will pick one item or another item or another item. It will be one item. So we're going to amend our code so that we can add this time a thing called a field set. And a field set is a way in which we can contain a number of different controls. So again, it's just another way to break things up. And we will also include a thing called a legend. And the legend is small writing and will have a box around it, and it will group our radio buttons. So in this case, we're going to have a BR. So we may have two BRs just to move things down. We can have three BRs. Not a great way to do it. We can also do that with styling, but I just wanted to show you that you can have BR followed by BR. We then have a field set, and inside the field set, we have this thing called a legend. So has the vehicle been changed from is a legend? We'll see that in a second. And in this case, instead of having the label first and then the input type, the way we've been doing up to now, I want to have the radio button and I want to have the text to the right of it. So this is slightly different from what we've done before. We will then have another input, and it's of type radio, and the label will be after. And then when we display it, we'll see here. So we'll see in the browser, we have a thing called a legend. And the legend in this case puts here with it a box around it. We will have a label to the right of our radio button and a label to the right of the second radio button. And each of these radio buttons will have an ID. So let us put our code in. We have a field set, and inside that we have a group of elements. We have a legend, which we have already seen, which is small writing with this box around it. Then we have a div, which has an input and a label, similar to what we had before, where we had our labels and our input types. In this case, our input comes first, and it's of type radio. Now, if I want to define what that radio button means, then I can give it some sort of an ID, standard specification. Y means for yes. And this one, standard specification N. So I can define those two. There's two buttons, so two IDs. As well as that, I can have a value. So if this one is clicked, the value that's going to go to the back-end server and be stored in the database will be true. Or in this case, will be false for that one. And then we just have our labels, standard specification Y, standard specification N. So if I look at our browser and do a refresh, yes, we can see here that we have this legend. And then we have a yes and a no. And I can only click one or the other. I can't click both. And that is a radio button. So each input is of type radio, and the ID attribute which matches the for in the label. So when we look at the ID for the input, it was standard specification Y, and the label has a for, which is standard specification Y. The value that will be sent to the server will be true for the first one and false for the second one. Now, each input type has the same name. Before, we have concerned ourselves with the ID and said that that was unique. And in this case, each input type has a name. To be able to group these two radio buttons together to say that they are associated, we keep the name standard specification, and then for the second one, standard specification. The names are the same so that these two are grouped together, but their ID is different. The ID will be different for both of them. Each input tag has a value attribute, which has the value that will be sent to the server. So it's going to be either true or it's going to be false. The label contains a text that appears alongside each radio button, either yes or no.